There is clearly much to be done in the world right now that is not being done. For all our claims of civilization, we of the West, we are charging towards inevitable wars forevermore, towards the big and final one. And we have faith systems anticipating this, the final one, even praying for it, Western faith systems. A solution, should we desire one, at least desire more than maintaining our existential superiority, which does seem so vital to us, will involve the demise of our assurance, at least. Not the civilization, though it's really corrupted. It is a ridiculous, dangerous fiction with no evidence really to back it up. In his History of the English-Speaking People, Churchill wrote, perhaps in hindsight, that the Saxon invasion of British Britain was a great thing, that the dynamism and aggression of the Anglo-Saxon and perhaps later the Dane, mixed with the resident, rather talented but lazy Celts, created the now superior English people. In his august and racist opinion, he seemed to be sure that had Africans or East Indians invaded the Saxon shore, Great Britain would not be so great. And we continue to seem to think this. Well, I just watched the Olympics. Winnie was Wong, at least athletically, but the sports require great dedication, hard work, and application of thought, with which he does not endow the African. The parents of these brilliant young things are so often multiracial. There was one blonde on the women's gymnastic team. If human excellence is your desire, mixing it up out there looks useful. The evidence is against the fussy right of England, unless you want to insist and stay in a bubble. And some Brits still do, not so much the hooligans rioting at the moment, but their masters, softies from the hallowed halls, men like David Starkey, but many men regardless. Some in the Starkey comments wondered why only the West is supposed to be multicultural, displaying that keen stupidity for which the English are known, as much as their aversion to bathing until pretty recently. Still, the habit seems universal, the need to believe that we alone created civilization, alone, that all the rest are in second place and worse. Churchill had his hierarchy. Time and understanding has not caused the zealotries to fade. The armies of PhDs claiming Western civilization to be the superior of the two, or 85, though I think the scholars mean the East and the global South as inferior, they are definitely ignoring the real Western civilizations of the Americas and Australia before 1492. They actually mean the messianic cults born in the sorry Middle East. This overlooking can make for some funny confusions. On a debate on Intelligence Squared about superiority of civilization, a man speaking for the rest said that being best is really existential to the West. They just can't do without it. Without that surety, they will stamp, tear up, and tantrum. Though if you do upset them, they will not, unfortunately, take their bombs and go home. They will stay and stay, or leave proxies about the place, Israel and Ukraine, to shine the little light. My theory or suggestion is that the Western states, the derobed, the suited and tied, in fact feel terribly inferior beneath that busy skin. I'm reading a novel about Medea, the famous one, Christa Wolf, that poses the Corinthians behaving very superior to the Colchians because they knew deep down they are not. Fair enough. But the whole Corinthian thing is to maintain the sham. That is their civilization, nothing else. This maintenance of sham. It's entirely American. They have little time for anything else, like you know who. It would be impossible to point out to them that the Olympic medal hoard they frantically show us in prime time is in fact the opposite of the Olympic creed. The point was that athletic prowess had nothing to do with your birthplace. It might be something Papa would be proud of, but was mostly focused on the individual, his arete, his or her excellence. No flags, no anthems. Still today, some people need them, or they might forget Simone is theirs, to be celebrated, and to a few real sickos to be ashamed of. To answer the question, why does only the West have to be multicultural? Well, they might like it. They've never tried it because they are hopeless at it. They had a chance to leave the cannon on the ships to fight other Europeans on the Spanish Main and say to the coastal peoples who by and large came to welcome them, I say, chaps, how are you? Take me to your gods. I brought mine, and let's have a powwow, eh? And talk some trade and Turkey over that wonderful wacky-backy you lot smoke, eh? It's not what happened, is it? And now they've come to your countries asking asylum, bringing their God like you did with them. Perhaps he's especially necessary when you go seeking your future far away, like you did. Saying it is just not on is ridiculous. That you, Euros, colonize is the root of your superior culture, and more importantly, its wealth. It is a joke now. The old immigrant didn't ask. He came with cannon. We didn't send our best, we sent our rapists and murderers, oh yes, conquistadors and pilgrims. Perhaps the British left are trying to explain. Perhaps our assumption that Islam is bent on taking over is assumed because that's what we did. And the left, or whatever they imagine themselves, is left holding the can. Well, that's what our enterprising young Drakes, Columbuses, and Magellans did. Stuck a flag in it and called it ours. All frightfully good fun. A friend referencing Trump said America will have no king. Maybe we are too busy on our knees in front of Saudis, kissing rings and other things. You see, your superior civilization hath many needs. Keep them out if you can, do. You've already concluded you owe them nothing, so you think you're being kind in that self-congratulating Christian way. Kind to the needy and the poor, eh? Remember, what's the new phrase? Lending a broad shoulder? It ain't the woeful immigrant that troubles you, is it? I just watched a bit of that Neil Kinnock speech where he says, weak? Working 8 hours down the mine and coming up and playing football, the working class was not weak. But the English working class have conveniently short memories. Before Mr. Starkey had the Arabs to complain about, he blamed them for everything, for the unions and your attempts at representation. Before 1918, you couldn't vote, you silly pillocks. That is the golden age he's conjuring up, trust me. I know that civilizations worldwide make lots of rules about how its peoples should behave. I think they are all inordinately proud of these educations. A woman did a short, or one was made of her, I cannot find, claiming children are naturally racist. She was pretty to the listening. So the listening was intense. She wasn't asked how she came to this, maybe too pretty. I tried it out. It didn't fit for me unless I was told someone meant me harm out there. Then surely I'd think, if lucky to have nice parents, that nice parents would look like, nice people would look like my parents. Of course, if they were nasty, beating type parents, I might, So, sorry, no, not a natural born racist. Maybe you are. Only to illustrate the point, a Facebooker got mad at me because of something I said about Christians. Awfully touchy, these Christians. I thought it was the jihadis, but no. Jesus Christ was not a drag queen. Okay. And I thought, good thing they're not Danish cartoonists drawing Jesus as a drag queen. And how do you know he wasn't a drag queen? Or better, why shouldn't he be a drag queen? Or she? He called me, quote, an uneducated moron incapable of critical thought. I agree, but I'm better than the educated moron incapable of any thought. Anyway, big chunks of Christians were mortally offended, literally sad because they couldn't behave like the butchers of Hebdo. The point, the grown-up experiment, is not getting so upset.